of AFT. We appreciate your inviting us to come moderate. The League of Women Voters of New Jersey, a nonpartisan political organization, encourages informed and active participation in government. We work to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influence public policy through education and advocacy. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League of Women Voters. Leagues are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the positions candidates take on those issues to help you, the voters, make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. The League never supports candidates or opposes candidates for office or political parties. And any use of the League name or footage from the debate and campaign materials, literature, or so forth should not be used. It has not been authorized by the League. So this is a forum devoted to hearing the views only of the candidates running for Perth Amboy Board of Education. And to ensure that this meeting is as informative as possible, we ask that everyone abide by the following. The candidates have agreed upon the following format. Each will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. A question period of about 45 minutes to an hour will follow. Each candidate will then have 1 minute to answer a question. Finally, each candidate will present a 2-minute closing statement. And each time the speaker speaks, when they have 30 seconds left, our timer here, another League member, will hold up a 30-second warning, and when the time is up, you may each just finish your sentence. Audience questioners are asked to use these cards, which are available at the table, and write your questions. A question may be addressed to one or to all of the candidates. The questions should address only those issues that come before this body to be voted upon. And we'll be choosing the questions only to ensure a full range of topics and to avoid redundancy. As a courtesy to the candidates, please turn off all cell phones or other electronic devices now, and please refrain from taking photographs during the debate. And so that we can move along in the allotted time, I ask that we hold applause until the end of the forum. And so now, let's begin. We have quite a number of candidates running for 3 seats. And in alphabetical order, they've agreed to give their opening statements, and then they'll reverse the order for closing statements. So let us begin with Anthony Bermudez.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Bermudez. First, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the AFT for giving the candidates the opportunity to talk about our reasons for running for the Board of Education. I was born and raised in Perth Amboy and graduated from Perth Amboy High School, class of 1992. I reside at 371 Alpine Street with my soon-to-be wife and our children. My stepdaughter is also a graduate of Perth Amboy High School, class of 2013. I have a military background with 2 tours served, one in Operation Enduring Freedom and one in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I currently work for the Middlesex County Sheriff's Office as a sheriff's officer. Together with Samuel LeBrock and Israel Varela, it is my goal to ensure that the children of Perth Amboy receive the very best education. This requires the collaboration of all involved in the process. First and foremost, I want to be the voice of the parents. Every parent's goal is to make sure that their child succeeds. For it is the children in our schools today that are the future of this community, of this state, and of this nation. This year, I personally experienced how parents are often overlooked and left out of the educational process. A unilateral decision changed the time of graduation for the first time in almost 40 years, from 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. Working class parents had to rearrange their schedules, many losing a day's pay and in some cases 2 days. This, together with the reality of low standardized test scores, high dropout rates, and low percentages going on to college, all concern me. This has made me decide to get elected to the Board of Education and help address these realities. Our children's success requires that parents, teachers, and administrators come together as equal partners in this very important task.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time is up now. Thank you. Next, we will hear from Mark Carvalho.
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 Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone here today. I'd like to thank the AFT and the League of Women's Voters for hosting this debate. I'd also like to welcome all the candidates here today. I think it's great that we're able to get together and have a healthy exchange of ideas as we talk about education. So I think this is great. I've been on the board for the past 3 years, and I've aggressively looked for ways to save money so that we don't have to put the burden of funding our school systems to the taxpayers. The taxpayers are overburdened as it is, and through that I've aggressively looked for ways to find policies and procedures to reduce costs here in the district so that we can focus our efforts into the classroom, so that we can focus on trying to get students to graduate high school and move on to higher learning. I found policies in the insurance program that were able to save $3 million in order to move this district forward, in order to save money. And that's going to continue to pay us and save the taxpayers a burden. Also found a energy program that I brought here to the district in order to, again, take away the burden from the taxpayers, focus more money into the classrooms, and help our students. I've also tried to draw back the curtain when it comes to the business of the board. I focused on putting the meetings, streaming the meetings online. I've also worked on putting the open bids online and also putting the bill list online so that everyone knows where their money is going, how their taxpayer dollars are being spent. We're at a critical point right now in the Board of Education. We're moving towards new leadership within the district, and we're moving towards focusing more of our efforts about education instead of personal attacks. We've been distracted for way too long, and we've got to focus on parent involvement, our students, and to try to help our at-risk students. Okay, yes. And that concludes my statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from Mr. Iglesias.
Good evening, thank you. I would like to also thank the League of Women Voters and the UFT for hosting this event. I feel that this is very important for the community to get to know what each of the candidates are about. And to start, I'd like to talk a little bit about myself, who I am as an individual, and what I have to offer the school board. I have been in this country for about 18 years. I came here from the Dominican Republic when I was 13 years old. And I didn't speak the language. I went through the same process, that same struggle that many of our students go through here in our community. And I was able to succeed. I got the opportunity to go to college. I got my bachelor's degree in business administration. I went ahead and got my master's degree in education, and I didn't stop there. I continued further, and I got 30 credits above my master's degree, and I got certified to teach students with learning disabilities and teaching bilingual students. Currently, I am working in New York City as a bilingual third grade teacher. One of the reasons that I decided to run to the Board of Education with Mr. Reyes Ortega is because I feel that we need a lot of leadership in this community. I feel that we have to shift the way we are doing business here. We have to start talking more about students' achievement. This should be the center of all the discussion that we have here in the board, because for me, I think that is the most important thing. At this point, I don't even know if we really understand why our students are not achieving and being successful. So I think that this is something that we have to be more reflective on, and if I get elected, I will push hard to get these issues.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. LeGros.
Good evening. My name is Samuel Abroad. I thank the AFT and the League for sponsoring this debate. I want to acknowledge all the candidates' participation, especially my running mates, Israel Orella and Anthony Bermudez. Thanks to the community for attending this event. The community has the largest stake in these matters. And why am I running? Simply put, I'm a community resident who cares about his community and its residents. As such, 4 years ago, I ran and won a seat at the Board of Education. I soon became its president and spearheaded an effort to improve our school system. Sadly, the school district has not improved. Nevertheless, as the president, I demonstrated with words and action what I stand for. My positions always stem from my conviction that the students come first, the community second, and the staff third. There should be no other priorities for a board member. Board members agreed with me to move the meetings to 6 p.m. and move up on the agenda at the executive sessions. They also agreed with me to make the high school a permanent board meeting site. I took these actions to ensure that the voices of our parents, students, and residents can be heard. I also proposed and was supported by board members in my effort to ensure that our community was aware of job opportunities at the district. I am glad and proud to see that the idea is still being used to disseminate this information to our community. When we received a budget surplus, I had another idea, starting our own funds to build a new high school. We consulted the community and it agreed with our priority. However, I did not stop there. I asked our business administrator, can we use some of this money to offset property taxes in our city? He informed me that we could do it in the future. These are examples of who I am and what I stand for. Only through community involvement can we have the community that we seek for our children, our elderly population, and ourselves. Give me an opportunity to be your voice. Improve our school system and safeguard the future of our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we'll hear from Mr. Marapuz.
Mr. Masterput, I'd like to thank the AT, League of Women Voters, for giving us a chance to speak. I have spent my whole life in Perth Amboy. I'm born in the house that my mother was born in and my grandfather built. I'm a lifelong resident. I've been a community-involved person. I served my church as a CYO advisor. I served the city as president of the 3 historical societies. I am the city historian, and I was chairman of the City Bicentennial Commission. I'm a scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. I was involved with the fire department and first aid squad. I served the city chief. I've taught every grade, K through 12, and college. I know the community in and out. I've been interested in the Board of Ed because it's where you serve the students. And I think in my 1 year, I proved that students come first, and I listen to the parents, and I listen to the community. And without that, you're not going to go anywhere. I've spent over 45 years in a classroom where the student and the teacher interact, and that's the most important part of education, and I feel I'm a master of that. In fact, I have a master's in education. So I hope that I have something to offer to the Board of Ed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega.
Good evening, Reyes Ortega, 1 Madison Avenue. I've been living in this town for 42 years. I've been in business for the last 25 years. I'm father of 4 children, and right now I have 7 grandchildren in the school system. So I'm very concerned about my grandchildren's education, with all the commercial and the local schools, and I believe in changes. We need to change a lot of things in this school system, because in order to improve our education, we need to have changes, because the way right now is running, the way the school is running right now is not proven they do the right way, the right thing. So we need to look for other ways. Besides that, I decided to make a determination to run for the second time for this position, because I've been involved for the last 11 years in the community service in Perth Amboy. I'm a president of Perth Amboy Board Education. Also, I belong to the Latino Leadership Alliance organization at state level. Also, I'm serving the board of la Casa de Cultura, Educación y Cultura Latina. And I've been working with the community very hard, and I understand the needs of the children and the parents also from the children in these schools. So really we need to do something about it, because my concern, my 7 grandchildren, they're small. I got 2 at the middle schools and 5 at the grammar schools. So we need to do something about to change the system, how it works right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Salerno.
Thank you. I just want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Wish my fellow candidates the best in their endeavors. And thank the AFT and Women's League Boards for hosting such an event. My name is Ben Salerno. I've been in the community my entire life. I have over 25 years in law enforcement. I'm a sergeant in the police department here. I have a varied background, work patrol, narcotics, homeland security, and that's kind of my present assignment now. 2 children actively in the school system. My daughter was actually one of the first ones who, when Perth Amboy created the preschool program, she was one of the first children, one of the first recipients to go through that program. And we've been involved, my wife and I, in the public school system since that time. Born and raised here, went to school here, my wife did as well. And I've thought about the board for many years and really didn't know too much about it. Past couple of years with being involved in different activities in the school, many activities within the community, serving as president for my Holy Rosary Holy Name Society and on the band PTO, cooking and over the stand over there during the football games. I have an appreciation for the kids and I have an appreciation for the educators. Lately, and sadly, it seems that the Board of Education has gotten a lot of negative publicity, a lot of negative light. We've got a tremendous community, some amazing kids, and we've got tremendous educators. And I can attest to that because my kids are the recipient of that education. And I think it's time that we move forward. There's been, like I said, too much negative connotations. We've got to put that behind us. We've got to move forward and get back on track where we need to be. So I look forward to my fellow candidates to putting us back on track and becoming the jewel that we truly are in the city of Perth Amboy and the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Varela, sorry.
Sorry.
That's right.
My name is Israel Varela. I reside at 210 Lewis Street. I'm a lifetime here resident of Amboy. Gone through all the schools. I got actually involved in the school system a little bit over 25 years ago. And I have never stopped. Actually, that's when I met my wife. And she is a school teacher. And I really got involved with her help. And it gave me more of an input how everything works in the school system. I became one when we had Comer in our system. That I became one of the co-chairperson of SLIC, School Leadership Committee, and it gave me more input, how parents should get involved. So again, I continue getting involved because I saw there's a need for us as parents and community members, because I'm also a business owner here in Perth Amboy, how important it is for us to be part of the school system, not to be kept out. So that's why you always see me that I am very aggressively when I fight for the parents and the students. But it always has been, because I hear other individuals. I was also part of the PAMA, that's the Perth Amboy Merchants Association. When that was founded, actually it was founded by Billy Delgado, and I was one of the board members, in which I led with strong-heartedly that we should be involved in the school system, and that's how that luncheon that started, awards for students. So I've been pro-students from the first, and I will never stop. Fortunately, sometimes that gets me in trouble, but as a Marine, no one's going to stop me. I will continue supporting our students, our parents, and our staff, and no one could ever say that this Marine not. So I thank Mr. Samal Brock and Anthony Bermudez for being with me, and thank you to all.
Okay, you've met the candidates, and now we're going to turn right to your questions. And we'll start down the line with Mr. Carvajal. The first question, actually I'm putting a couple of them together, have to do with the superintendent's position in the coming year. So a couple of questioners were interested in, do you agree with the decision that's been made, or what do you think should be done in the future with the superintendent's position?
Thank you very much for the question. First, yes, I do agree with the decision that's been made. Currently, we were at a crossroads in which the superintendent and the board just didn't see eye to eye. The marriage was is broken, and there's no way to, it's beyond repair at this time, for different reasons, for many reasons. And the very tough decision to put the superintendent on administrative leave didn't come easy. We provided every opportunity for the superintendent to succeed. We wanted the relationship to work, and understand that we wanted it to work. But unfortunately, we just got to a point where we needed to make a tough decision. And right now, we're looking for a way for us to part company, so that she can walk away with her head held high, this district will walk away with our head held high, so that we can continue to move and shift back to talking about education, talking about our kids.
Thank you. Let's move along to Mr. LeBron. Now, Mr. Iglesias, sir.
Thank you. Well, I don't agree with the decision that was made. And part of the reason that I don't agree is because I think that that was a waste of money. I mean, we are paying the superintendent $70,000 to be home. The superintendent said it. She was not going to apply for her position. So it was understood that at the end of her contract, she was going to leave the district. So I don't understand what was the need of sending her home. Right now, we don't have an individual that it's certified to lead our school. And I think that we need to start thinking carefully who we are going to hire next, and we have to be cautious on how we make this decision, because this is costing a lot of taxpayers' dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. LeBron.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with the decision that was made. As a matter of fact, when I was the president, we made that decision twice. So 100% I agree with it. I do wish that it would have come 18 months ago. We had a unified board. We would have been that much far ahead of the game right now. But it has come now, and I do welcome it. I feel for it 100%. Now, in terms of searching for a new superintendent, if that is the way that the new board will go, definitely the method that we used before, even though it did not yield the right results, was the correct method, because we did engage the community, we did engage the staff, and the board itself met several times to discuss all the parameters. So I do support the decision, and I hope and expect that the future board will do the same in terms of reaching out to the community and everyone else to get the right superintendent here.
Thank you. Mr. Massapus?
Yes, with the change in the superintendent, anybody who sat in one of these chairs for a year like I did and saw the people that were very, very displeased with the choice of the superintendent would agree with us. It wasn't working, it's time to close the door. We have to look for somebody that will best serve our community, which is unique. And, it has to be a person that understands that it's a leading position, leading of the community. The students, the parents, and the staff have to have all input and be considered. And it's not an easy position, and I consider it a very important decision that has to be made via a community search.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega?
Well, I think it's very difficult to sometimes to make the right choice and do the right things. It is up to us to make some kind of determination where we will make decisions. And I believe also that she make a lot of mistakes. I understand that, and I agree with that. She deserves punishment. Of course, I believe that also. She can send it home without pay. I believe in that. No with pay. Somehow we cannot pay people to sit at home do nothing, but we need somebody to write the schools. Right now the schools is running without boss, so I don't understand how the thing works. And like I say, it's very difficult sometimes, but we need to understand also the needs of our children. That is first. We should think about our students before we make some kind of determinations.
Thank you.
And yet,
Thank you.
Was that a yes or no?
You need to speak to him afterwards if you have other questions. Mr. Salerno, comments, please.
Yes, this decision like this is never a favorable one, but unfortunately, I believe from the bits and pieces that I've heard, what's in the media, and from some of the staff members and the educators, that it was a decision that needed to be made. It was a very tough decision for the board. I could see that from attending some of the meetings, seeing them go back and forth, and like I said, it's never a favorable one to put somebody out of a job, as well as never something that you want in the media and to be in the limelight of a decision like that needs to be made. However, I think we have to remember that she was chosen by some of the people that were up here with us today, and I just wish much success. And if all goes well, I look forward to being part of the selection process to select our next candidate, our next superintendent, who I'm sure will do a tremendous job.
Thank you. Mr. Varela?
Thank you. The choice was correct. It came 2 years too late. We, as the board, we were going to remove her, not even 2 months after she came, because of the punitive action that she has taken against our community, our staff, and our students. Many simple things became more of a problematic because of the aggression. So I was so favorable to it, but I am saddened that it took others almost 2 years or better to actually take action. Well, there's an election, that's why others take actions to favor them. But in reference to money, we're saving millions of dollars. If you really know what went on, as we as a board member, millions of dollars. Her salary ain't nothing compared to the millions of dollars in lawsuits that we have because of the aggression that was there towards our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, for this question, Mr. Bermudez.
There were many people that fell victim to her reign here. Many people, including teachers, students, parents, community members. I absolutely agree with the decision of getting rid of her. I'm sorry, but the community was suffering at her hands. There was a lot of things that could have been done differently. A lot of things that could have been collaborated with the teachers, with the faculty, with the administrators that were not. She took it upon herself to do things her own way. And that's not the way you do things. The students are the main priority here. And to me, I don't believe that was her priority. So my answer to that question, yes, I believe, no, I wholeheartedly know that was the correct action.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the next round of questions, we'll start with Mr. Iglesia, and that is, there's a question regarding the special needs programs here in the school, and is your opinion that there's enough being done, or what else might you like to see to serve the students with special needs?
Well, I think that there's always something else to do, particularly in this community that is culturally and linguistically diverse. I think that our special need community need to be carefully looked at and see how we as a community, as a teaching community, as the administrative community, we are serving these students, because they are one of the groups in our school that have the most needs. And they have a lot of different needs. They have a lot of individual needs, and sometimes it requires a lot of resources to service those needs. So I think that, yes, there's a lot that needs to be done. We need to be carefully evaluating individual students to make sure that we are servicing their individual needs. Thank you.
Mr. LeBron?
Yes, special needs programs. I don't think that we are doing enough. I know that we have a lot of programs in place. Many times we're not able to take care of some of the special needs students because the needs actually cannot be met by our school system. However, those that are being taught, for example, at home, that you can have a teacher at home, I don't feel that there's enough supervision of these programs. Many times the kids that are home don't get a teacher for many, many days, weeks, and sometimes even months, and sometimes when they show up, Honestly, they just don't teach that much. I don't think there's enough oversight of the things that we can control for special needs students. Also, we should start to look at our ability to take care of some of those that we're sending out of district. We have to start looking at working in conjunction with the hospitals and other places.
Mr. Massacus?
Yes, Thomas Jefferson said every student should be treated equally. And everybody has to be given a complete chance. And people with special needs can succeed if given the chance. An example, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was crippled, but because he had a family that were able to help him, they were able to work. But handicaps are varied. There's all kinds of them. People that are dyslexic, they don't look handicapped, but they are. There are people that don't hear well. There are all kinds of things. Now, out-of-district programs do work for special needs people because they have stuff that we can't do. But other than that, everybody deserves a chance.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega?
Especially as students, I believe that we need to have professional people to deal with this kind of issues and to evaluate them and see what they need, because my next person he says everybody is different and different needs. So we need to be aware of that. And without specialists or professional people understand the needs of these children, there's no way we can help them.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Salerno?
I was really amazed by the sheer number of special needs students that we have within the district. I feel that their needs are being met, but as with anything else, there's always room for improvement. We have so many different resources that are available to us, not only within the community, but within the county. And I have to echo what Mr. Massacus said, is that special needs can be categorized in many different ways. And I think, again, we need to have the oversight, we need to constantly reevaluate and see, are we missing the mark? Should we be doing a little bit more? And if so, what should we be doing? And how can we address that? So, are we addressing the issue? Yes, we are. Can we do more? Of course we can do more to assist them and ultimately get them the education they deserve, the education they want, to make them better students to go forward into the world.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell?
Special needs students, I've been working with some of them. And are we meeting their needs? No, we're not. We're putting a Band-Aid on it. One of the problems that we have here, I will talk with, especially with the high school level, which I have seen, is we are not able to provide for them because we are not aggressive enough. What we need is a new high school. And one of the problems is that we've been divided. East Campus, STEM, they're all over. And we're not centralizing our school. So we are not meeting their needs. And other communities that love to take our students because they're a money maker for them. But we need to be more aggressive, and we have not met their needs. I don't care what anyone says, we are not meeting their needs, and I will fight and I'll continue to help them as I have been doing with some students.
Thank you. Mr. Bermudez?
It's our responsibility to come together with teachers and administrators to evaluate some of these programs. Evaluate them and see what works and what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, we need to go to something that does work. We have to keep an open mind and look to see what is out there. If there is something that works out there in a different district and we have to ship somebody out there, then let's do that. Let's do what we have to do in order to help the special needs. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Carbonell?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. The short answer is no, we're not doing everything that we need. Right now, when kids are sent out of district, it's a significant cost to the district. Not only that, the child feels that they're not part of the school system. And that's something that affects learning, affects other things. There's a couple of things that we need to be looking at. Some of the things were already mentioned. I agree with Mr. Massacus, Mr. Salerno, who say that every child needs an education, and everybody has a different need that needs to be met. Yes, the one thing that can be done is, a new high school, but that's something that's, that's going to be, it's a hard to get at this time. But What we can do is look at the facilities that we do have here and try to make the facilities that we do have currently meet the standards of the special needs children, depending on what it is. And yeah, we do need to partner up with some of the entities here in town to try and find ways to keep our kids here. And again, they need to be sent to another district to meet the needs. I agree wholeheartedly, yes. I mean, we're going to do whatever we can to meet the needs of the students. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a good segue in some of these answers. You mentioned, somebody mentioned new school, and there are several questions which I'm going to try to put together in 1 minute. See if you can address. Where would you like to see a new high school built? How would you fund it? And how would you involve the community in that? And we're going to begin with Mr. LeBron.
Yes, that's,
It's a mouthful for 1 minute, but
well, we'll
do your
try.
best.
First off, I've been an advocate of a new high school since I first arrived on the board. I do not believe that we can just build an annex or anything like that. It will become obsolete within, even before it's built, it's already obsolete, no capacity. A new high school has 2 or 3 different places that we can locate it at. I have advocated in the past for places such as the Delaney Homes property. We have enough land there, plus the adjoining parks to be able to build it there. I also I think that we can build it somewhere down by the waterfront, where near the Celotex area. However, there's a lot of soil remediation that will have to take place before we will consider that site. Nevertheless, there might be 20 acres in there of that 72 acres that we might be able to salvage and do something with. There are also other sites on the other side of town by the water as well that we might be able to pursue. I'm not looking forward to condemning land, homes, etc., or using it.
Okay, thank you very much for respecting the time. Mr. Masterpool?
Yes, all our problems, a lot of them could be solved by a new high school. One thing it must be is away from the major part of the community. Schools that are right in the middle of the community keep getting into problems. I believe what Mr. Carbowell said, and Mr. Carvalho and all these other people have spoken about. Underneath the Victory Bridge, you've got one whale of a good piece of property there, you've got the river. We have that as a resource. We can build a waterfront area where we would have an environmental center, and we could use that to build everything. We could rent out the facilities and things like that. Where to get the money, I don't know, but we have to look for it. But it's definitely needed, it's got to be away. I think really the only place would be under the Victory Bridge on a big cement gap.
Mr. Ortega?
Well, there is a good one. Great with us to the new high school. But the problem is where we're going to put it. Once we find a nice place to do, or bigger place to do, to do the school. And also the money, where we going to get the money from? I believe we have some money from the federal government, from the state, that how much they can give us, not to give it, willing to give it to us, and how much money we can put up also. And I think it's going to have a big problem with that one. But we work together as a community, as a business people, as a parents, and grandparents, in this board, get together, and mind together, maybe that happens in the future.
Mr. Salerno?
I'd absolutely love to see a new high school. I know there's been many people over the past several years that have been fighting vigorously to try and get the funding for it. I also understand that the SDA, up until maybe about a year ago, was looking to give some money towards a new high school. But with some of the tumultuous behavior that has gone on in the past, I understand we're not as high on the list as we were at one time. As far as the location, we have to take in the amount of students that are there. We need a rather large complex. I'd like to see everything under one roof. My daughter's a victim of it because she's in the East Campus and desires to take some classes, but she can't because they're not offered at that location. The waterfront is a tremendous area. It offers so much. Additionally, so does the area off of Convert Boulevard that's been vacant for quite some time, and which would be able to accommodate such a venue and easy busing in and out and transportation issues.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell?
Thank you. I've been an advocate of the Celotex area, that's the ponds area, for almost 3 years. that is the best. It's 72 acres. How do you fund it? There's brownfield money. Brownfield money, I got to talk fast here. Brownfield money is dedicated so you could do the cleanup. But yet, you have these politicians that want to build houses, but they will allow that. So there is money there. We cannot build a school. That is anybody that says no, it's the SDA. If we, as a community, get together like we did last time, how everybody came here, and we were trying for over 2 years to actually do something in reference to the how aggravated the superintendent would get, but the community came together as a force, and if you do the same, we could get that high school. We demand a high school, we should get a high school. The money that we're paying for all these STEM Academy, St. Mary's, all, it is costing us more money than actually you would pay for a new high school through the years, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bermudez.
Thank you.
Where, the same as where Mr. LeBron and Mr. Carlos was speaking of, we're there by the Celtics property. It's a big enough area to go ahead and put what we need there. As far as funding it, there's a couple of ways. We have a surplus. We could use some of the surplus in order to fund some of the project. I think we need to get together with the city council, maybe speak with them, collaborate with them as far as trying to get to the state level and see if we can get any money from the state. And of course, involve the community. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the community is sitting in the same stance that we are, where we need that high school. The high school is just too overcrowded at this point. It's becoming a safety issue, and it has to be done.
Yes, next, Mr. Carvalho.
Yes, thank you for the question. Two things. We've had meetings with the state twice, and two reasons why they're interested. Number one is because they understand that we have communicated through community, through City Hall, through the board, that we have been largely ignored in this process. They've been building schools all over the place up until 2 years ago, and prior to that, Perth Amboy wasn't considered. The other reason is, yes, we have a significant surplus, and we have put on the table right now, that's the discussions that are taking place right now, as far as land acquisition, hiring architects to identify areas within the city for us to build a high school. And again, we're saying, look, we've got a surplus, we can use land acquisition and pay for architects, pay for experts to come into the city and identify areas. The other issue is listen, if we have to treat certain areas of the land that may be affected within the city, we'll treat it, we'll buy the land, will you build it? And those are the conversations that are taking place right now. So I just want to make that very clear. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Iglesias.
Thank you for the question. A new high school, I think, is something big, something that would change the dynamic of our school district here. When I think about students' achievement, I think that one of the biggest factors affecting our students is that the high school here is overcrowded, and that has a big impact on the students' achievement, especially when you are sitting in a room and you're sharing a room with 30 other individuals. It creates an environment that is not good for learning. So I think that a high school would be very good for the community. It should be in a safe and in a convenient place. The funding should come from the state. I don't think that taxpayers here from Perth Amboy should have to put any money to be in a high school here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Somebody mentioned the word surplus, and I have a question here from the audience. What will you do with the $10 million plus surplus, and when will students have books and other essential learning supplies?
Say that again.
40, you're right. What will you do, even better yet, with $40 million plus as surplus, and when will students have books and other essential learning supplies? We're going to start this round with Mr. Massapuz.
Yes, Mr. LeBron and I were just kicking around the field underneath the Victory Bridge. For $40 million, I think we could put a good 12-inch cap of cement and start our building there. One thing I would like to do, if you could do, is put it aside somewhere, some of it or a lot of it, that we could save for the new high school, because that should be one of our ultimate goals, is the new high school. And somehow, some way, channel that surplus there and not let it dribble out of our hands. That's basically what I'd say.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega.
Well, I believe also we can use that money to build a new high school, at least to get the basis, to start with the building, the new school, and also, you know, we need to think about how we going to build this school, because we need to build something new to respond our student needs in today's days. And I think it's very important to us, and we should keep pushing until we get this new high school. If I get elected, that's one of my things I'm going to fight for, and we will get it done in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Morello. Mr. Salerno.
$40 million is a lot of money. I think one of the first things we should do is evaluate rather quickly if there was any emergent needs that should be done, such as, for example, in this building, I believe there was an issue with the elevator. Any emergent needs, anything that exists that could be done, any repairs that should be done, those should be corrected immediately. Secondly, there should be just double check to make sure there are no guidelines on that surplus money that it can or can't be used in a certain manner. As far as books and essential needs for kids, we're approaching the third month of the school year. There's absolutely no excuse why they shouldn't have what they need. And lastly, whatever money is left over, and hopefully a large portion of that $40 million, as long as it's permitted, I agree with the fellow candidates, that should be put aside in preparation for the new high school.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell.
Thank you. I have been always on the same path. It's in reference to purchasing that 72 acres. For many years, I've been telling everybody in there about brownfield money. With that $40 million, we're not going to use but with that money plus brownfield money that is available, we can purchase, we can clean it, but don't get it this wrong. We cannot build a high school. We have to force the state, because it's the SDA that built the high school. But as a community, we can do it. In reference to the book, unfortunately, these books should have been here. We were lied to constantly. I was one of the guys that was not allowed in any schools because I asked questions. But now I'm inside the schools, and what happened is they went the wrong way, which we were telling them, you're going the wrong way, but they didn't listen to us. But we could build that high school, again, as one community, as one, as we did before, and watch it be done. Before even the year is over, we could get it done.
Thank you. Mr. Bermudez.
Thank you for that question. I agree with Mr. Salerno. I do believe that we need to take care of those emergent matters first. We have to take care of those problems before we take care of anything else. As far as the elevator is concerned, it has to be done. It has to be a main priority. Also, the resources that are needed for some of these academies, for the STEM Academy, and the books have to be done as well. We have to get that to the kids. They have to, the education has to continue on. However, the majority of that surplus needs to be put into the building blocks of that new school, the new high school. We have to start it somehow, and the majority of that surplus is there. That's what it should be used for. Once we start that high school, it's just another step closer to getting the state to come in and give us the money, or help us with the money, to continue with the building of that high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carmelo?
Thank you. There's three things that need to be focused on when we talk about this surplus. Number one, and this is something that actually did come from the state when they talked about building a new high school, they said, listen, we're not going to give you anything after that. You have to make sure that your infrastructure is in place. So right now, and we've already embarked on this process of fixing up the things that we need to fix up. Yes, the elevators and things of that nature, windows, HVAC system, working on the infrastructure that already currently exists. Because yes, we do have schools here, but they are old, and they need to be fixed. That was one thing, that was the first step. The other step that we took was when we had our meetings a year ago, we talked about increasing and working on the infrastructure when it comes to technology so that we were able to service the students from a technology standpoint. And yes, the books, we just recently released as much funds as we can so that we could meet that need. And yeah, we missed the boat there because Mr. Burrell alluded to it, but we were not informed completely as to what the actual situation was regarding the books. And thank you very much.
Mr. Iglesias?
Okay, $40 million, a lot of money. I don't know if we can use that money to build a new high school, but if we can, why not? I think that if we can use that money to build a new high school, then that is what we need to use it for. But if we cannot use that money, I think that we need to focus on what our students need in the school. We got to think about what resources they need, books, supplies, anything in the classroom environment. Also, I will support using the money for making extracurriculum activities like physical education programs to reach the community and make the community more involved in the education of the children through sports and through community events. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly to this question, Mr. LeBron.
Yes, there are $40 million put away somewhere. Let's talk about the operating budget for every school first. There is enough money set aside for books and supplies and the like, and equipment, for every school. If you look at the budget when it's presented, it is spelled out right there and then. It's not a matter of $40 million being somewhere and we don't have books and we should be using it for that. It is a matter of poor decision making on some people at the administrative level. That is the reason why this has happened. It has nothing to do with the surplus. Now, in terms of the surplus, when I was the president and we first got the surplus, I fought vehemently to keep as much of it as possible for a new high school. And we had around $33 million, and there were some emergent projects such as a city school and trying to do something at a high school, air conditioning and so on, that dwindled that down a little bit to just below 30 million. So I don't understand why, after I left, we got another surplus of over $35, $40 million around there, and yet only $10 million of that was actually put away as well.
Thank you. Time is up on that. Just for a change of pace, this may not require a whole minute. We're going to start with Mr. Ortega. The question is, do you or any of your family members have conflict of interest ties to the board or the city that would require you to abstain from voting on Board of Education matters? Mr. Ortega.
No, my family had nothing to do with the board in any way.
Mr. Salerno?
No, I do not.
My wife is a teacher, but that doesn't keep me from all the votes. It's only when it pertains to her at the school. That's the only abstain that I would have.
Thank you. Mr. Benitez?
Yes, my sister is a teacher in the school.
No, I do not have any conflicts.
Mr. Lacy?
Yes, my wife is a teacher, but I feel that I have a lot to offer to the school district.
Mr. McGraw?
I have a support staff member that is a member of my close family.
Mr.
I have
Massey?
no conflict.
Thank you. Question. How do you, and we're going to start with Mr. Salerno, how do you feel about privatization of services for the Board of Education?
I understand in this day and age, in this economy, privatization is something that a lot of people look into as far as a money-saving and a cost-saving manner. However, I think it would have to be delineated exactly what you're talking about privatization for. For example, there's a privatization for snow removal and grass cutting and things of that nature, maintenance. Talking about privatization of food services. Not always is it the way to go. For example, you may decide to utilize privatization for one venue today, and then you realize that you're saving money in health insurance and costs and things of that nature. However, with whatever venue or whatever private venue you're utilizing, whatever costs they're increased by is going to be passed along down the road. So I can't say I'm for or against it. I think it all has to depend on the venue that you're looking to privatize and the reasoning behind it. And with anything else, I think a full overall evaluation needs to be done before a decision like that can be made.
Mr. Burrell?
Certain things you can privatize, but here in the public school system, I don't believe, because I have seen they have been moving to privatize, and it's been doing more harm. We're getting less service, paying almost the same amount of money, but we're getting less. Yes, they save a couple of dollars, but the quality, it's not even close to it. So in reality, we're actually paying more for the service, because if they would put it up to par how our staff members were servicing us, whether it was transportation or was it the cafeteria, our staffs were giving us a better quality. So I am not so for this privatization for billionaires to make money on our kids.
I'm not a fan of privatization. I would rather keep it in-house. I would rather keep it here. I understand that if you do privatize, it's about budget cuts. However, if you do keep it in-house, you keep the money here as well. You keep it within the community. You have the same people who are working here spending the money here. So I believe keeping it here is where it's at. I'm not for privatization.
Mr. Cardinal?
Yes, thank you for the question. I'm not for privatization, for a few reasons. Number one, I believe that a person that works for the school district, directly for the school district, will do more for you. And as long as they're treated well, they'll service our kids well. Again, but in order, you have to take the steps prior to avoid privatization. You got to take those steps so that you don't have to go that drastic route. To me, when you have to privatize something, it's because you've exhausted every other avenue prior to making that selection. You have to take steps prior to doing that, trying to save money prior to that, before you make that type of decision. And again, you're affecting people, you're affecting people's lives, you're affecting the employee, and ultimately it's going to trickle down to our kids. And I definitely don't believe privatization of progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Iglesias?
I am against privatization. However, I feel that if in our school district, if we cannot meet the needs of certain students, and I think that would be unfair to hold them hostage here. And I think that if we have to use some outside service or provide those needs to the students, I think that in those situations, I think I will definitely approve that.
Mr. LeBron?
I am very much against privatization. At the school, we saw the loss of a lot of capacity that our teachers had to teach one another, if you will, to take our best teachers, that were coaches and so on, and they were able to prepare the programs to teach their other teachers that we had here. However, the last years, 2 years actually, we've had other programs come in to replace that, and we have not built the capacity to be able to kind of do it on our own. So yes, many things can be privatized, and over the next year or two, that might seem like a good idea because we save some money. But whether it's snow removal or whether it's training our teachers, in the long run, when you analyze it over the next 5, 10, 15 years, you will have lost a lot of money and a lot of capacity. And that is the problem with privatization. That goes for our food services, that goes for our transportation department, that goes for our teaching staff, that goes for just about anything. Snow removal as well.
Thank you. Mr. Mexicos?
Yeah, privatization's got a lot of different phases to it. During my course of teaching, a brilliant individual thought it was a good idea to privatize the custodial services. We were going to save money until the custodial services equipment broke down and we couldn't fix them, and vacuum cleaners didn't work, and floods happened, and it wasn't a good idea at all. You've got to have control of what you do, and I find that it's not going to work. You've got to be able to be in charge of it, and it's not a decision you can make in 10, 15 minutes. You've got to really look into it, and there's a lot of different things involved. So it's not a simple thing.
Mr. Ortega?
Really, I think I'm against the privatization because right now I'm against it. I don't know if somebody explained to me really what's going to happen a year or 2 years from here if we privatize the schools. Then anything convinces me, but at the moment I'm against that because when you sell something to anybody, they can come back and sell it to you double what you sell it for. So you play with the real dangerous situation today because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with these people you sell in the schools.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Varela. This is very interesting. I have two questions which seem diametrically opposed. So I guess there are diverse opinions out there, and I'm going to read them both so that you can take whichever ground you feel is appropriate. One question, it has to do with bilingual education. What would you do to improve the bilingual program since it doesn't seem to be effective? That's one question. And another member of the community says, will you, if elected, not all the students in this district are of Hispanic background, so will you start to move on programs to benefit all students? So if you would please comment on...
Would you ask the second question again? Because
obviously one person feels, one segment of the community feels that all students are not benefiting from bilingual education. The questioner says the bilingual program is ineffective. So I was trying to put them together so that you can have your time to comment on your opinion of how effective the bilingual program is working with all students. Clear?
no,
Close to clear?
yes.
Okay, it's yours.
First thing in reference to the bilingual program was a model program. It was effective. The only problem that happened, they tried to dismantle it. They destroyed it. And if you really want to know how the bilingual program works, you talk to those bilingual staff members. They're the ones that are the knowledgeable ones. And that's why some people might not know what is truly what it's doing. But a true bilingual individual does work a lot harder. And it's able to. And the best thing is to continue, because we here in Perth Amboy, we're unique. A lot of individuals are coming in, they're coming from a Latin country, so we want to give them that opportunity so they can move forward and transition themselves out quickly. So, but it's the staff that you ask. They are the knowledgeable one. They know. There's a group in Camino. It's sad how they destroy that. These are children that came from countries that didn't even know how to read or write at their level. And in Camino put them in there. So it is a positive thing.
Thank you. Mr. Bermudez.
You want to improve the bilingual program? Bring it back. Basically, it was working just fine before. We had a lot of knowledgeable teachers in the bilingual program, and it was dismantled. Why? I couldn't tell you. Once you bring it back, I'm pretty sure you're going to see a great improvement on that. As far as the second part of the question, I'm not quite sure that I can answer that. However, I want to say I don't want to leave anybody behind. I mean, if there is something particular that this person would like to speak to me about offline, that's fine. Maybe I can help you out. Maybe you can I can speak to the rest of the board, or speak to the superintendent at the time, and we can fix something. But as far as helping, it's kind of vague as far as whatever the question is. But right now at hand, I mean, we are a population of 80+% Hispanic here, and the bilingual program is pretty much at the utmost here.
Thank you. Mr. Carvalho?
Thank you. This is interesting. Let me just say that the bilingual program wasn't dismantled, it was changed, okay? And it's the changes that took place is 1 week they learn English, 1 week they learn, they're taught in English and taught in Spanish another week. And I think that was a mistake. Right now, prior to, there was a 50 split in the classroom where they were being taught in both languages, and the students were able to move forward in that direction. I'm trying to get both of the question. What I think the question means is, at some point, once the person is in or the student is in the bilingual program, there has to be a way to phase them into the English-speaking classroom. I think that's where there might be an issue. But yes, the program was modeled when it was first introduced. It was a model program. People came from the state to look at it. The board was looking at ways to try and improve it, and I think we missed the boat slightly there. Thank you.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes, well, I consider myself a strong supporter of bilingual programs. We live in a bilingual community, and I think that these programs are important for our community. When we think about the needs of our students, we need to think about everyone, not only the students that are two language, but the students that are monolingual, who only speak one language. So I think that we need to have all the programs that we need to support the needs of those bilingual students, with the goal of eventually, when they can succeed and in a monolingual classroom, transfer them to that monolingual classroom, but not until they are able to succeed. Thank you.
Mr.
Yes. Well, first of all, we did have a very successful program, as Mr. Morel alluded to, and it was changed, that is true, but it was changed for the worse, not for the better. Furthermore, we did have classes where a student who did not speak English when they first arrived would basically be in an environment that would be 80% Spanish, 20% English. The following year, if you progress at a normal pace, you would be in an environment that was 50% English, 50% Spanish. And the third year, if you still progress at the same rate, you will be in a 20 and 80% Spanish versus English. Obviously, those that moved ahead faster will be transferred out of those programs as responsible. So I think we already had that. The fact that I seem to be hearing we don't have it now means that they did make some changes on that we're on the negative side. As far as addressing the needs of all the students that are not benefiting from this, there are other programs that we have. Not everybody uses them. For example, we have STEM Academy, we have Performing Arts. There are many programs that not everybody uses because they don't necessarily like that program or are not fit for it.
Thank you. Mr. Mesopoulos?
Yeah, in the United States of America, every student should be provided for. And we had a very good bilingual program. And it's one of my mottos. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And it wasn't broken, and yet they tampered with it, and it should not be done. I've taught here all my life, and it's worked for years. It should not have been tampered with. Let's put it back. And the other thing is the bilingual had an honors program, and that was disbanded. And I know the bilingual teachers and students have said they would like that returned to. So as I said before, it wasn't broken. I don't know what they tampered with. It was a mistake, and that's all there is to it.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega?
Well, I believe if it's broken, it's because somebody broke it. I don't understand how that happens, and I don't understand why they don't fix it. I mean, I don't think it's very hard to do it. If you have the teachers and, to do the class in Spanish and English, so I think it's easy to do it. I don't see the problem, If it's broken, I'll fix it tomorrow and go back to, back to normal.
Thank you. The next round, we're going to start back here. I'm sorry.
Forgot.
Sorry.
I found it interesting that you utilize the term diametrically opposed. However, there's a commonality, there's a nexus between those two questions, and the one is that basically we're providing the service to the child, in both venues. We have a surplus of $40 million, and with anything else, we can say, yeah, it's broken, we have to fix it, but we need to evaluate it. How is it broken? What's the problem with it? Can some of that surplus money be used? Can it be used for an after-school class? Can it be used for an additional class? Can it be used for an educator specifically in that area? So again, of course, I think it's an emergent issue that needs to be addressed and should be corrected. However, I think it should be evaluated and see what the root problem is and exactly why is it not working and how to correct it and go from there.
Thank you. And now we're back to Mr. Bermudez, starting. This questioner wants to know how you feel about using Board of Education funds to support charter schools.
Okay. I'm not against charter schools. I just think that public schools provide more resources for students. I think public schools provide a better atmosphere for students. How do I feel? I mean, I wish it could all be public schools. I mean, that's my ultimate feeling. But right now, the way I feel, I'm not really 100% with charter schools. But I'm not against charter schools. Yeah. I'll leave that.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Carver?
I believe in supporting public education. I don't believe in charter schools. I think they get the best. They get the best students, and are able to, I don't believe in sending money to public funds to support them. I think that we need to work and focus on the schools that we have already in place and improve the schools that we currently have in order to help our students and provide them with the services that they need. And again, I'm not knocking the charter school. I think they provide a service, and I think they do what they have to do to help kids. But as far as giving board money, taxpayer money, I'm against that. I mean, I think that we should be funding, that money should go to our kids. The kids, I mean, all the kids should be supported, but it should be focused here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Yes, I do support providing funds to the charter school, and I think that, we are forgetting that the students here, regardless of where they go here. I see charter school as another public school. It's just a different structure in the educational system. So to a certain scale, not to a large scale, I support funding charter school because to a certain extent they are providing students certain education that at a certain level we cannot provide it here. I will not agree if we want to do that to a large scale, but if we can give students here in Perth Amboy the opportunity to succeed, why not? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. LeBron?
Well, first off, a little history. Charter schools were not what they are now. When they were first envisioned, they were looked at as a method to really test new programs and the like, so that this information could be fed to public schools. Now they have been looking at charter schools as alternative to high schools, and they should not be. They still should remain what they were supposed to be, a way for others to learn how to do things differently so that this information could be used in the much larger environment of a public school. Now, I am not against charter school in the sense that they are being used in the past, the way they're used and not today. I am against them. They do detract somewhat. They don't have all the environment, tools that we need for the kids. They don't have necessary labs. They don't have sometimes some of the programs that we need for the kids to succeed.
Thank you. Mr. Massapus?
Yeah, I spent a couple months studying charter schools, and they do work in very, very poor environments where the public schools are just not doing the job. And I've been to a few, I'm not going to mention cities, but I think the schools were a disgrace. Perth Amboy's not that way. I know that any student that wants to learn, everything they need here is here. I've seen it. I've taught here all my life. I've seen students go to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and all kinds of backgrounds go to any school of their choice by applying themselves, and the material and the activity is here. If you put in a couple other cities, yeah, the charter school might work. But they cheat. They take the best kids, they take the best money, and put them in a building, and they're going to succeed because you got parents, kids, and teachers all together that want to succeed. Sometimes a big public school doesn't work out that way. But most of the time, we have here what is necessary to survive. We don't need a charter school.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega?
Well, I'm not against the charter schools, but I don't also agree with everything they do, but I believe there's some kind of support for some parents that they feel that they can learn and they want to succeed, so they get the opportunity to travel from one school to another. And I see a charter school has public schools also because they do the same kind of services and they're really working hard to improve the achievements for the students. And I haven't heard any complaint about the local charter school in Perth Amboy so far. And besides, now I'm campaigning, working on the streets, and I have people come out and talking about charter schools, how they take kids on, and this is school. I never been in that school in my life, but I heard people talking about. So I have nothing against the charter schools. And, what can I say? If they do good for the parents and the children. That's what they need.
Thank you. Mr. Salerno?
I'm not a staunch advocate or supporter of charter schools. I understand the impetus and how they came about, and I understand in some communities they may help alleviate somewhat of an overcrowding issue. However, as I said in my opening statement, in this community we have some tremendous educators, and My wife and I made the decision to send our children here because of those reasons. And they are the recipients of phenomenal education. So I'm not happy about the fact that some of our money does go to the charter school system. Again, I understand the impetus behind it, how they came to fruition. But again, as a parent, we made our choice to send our children to the public school system, which we are more than happy with.
Thank you. Mr. Burrell?
Yes. I'm a board member of Perth Amboy Board of Education, the public school. My responsibility is the public school first of all. And the charter school, if anyone wants, that is their choice. But I will not be supporting them. And besides, the charter school should be doing a lot better because a lot of the parents are involved. Not as much as and that's one fault that we have. Our parents should be a little bit more involved. And even with that, still, the charter schools are not faring better than us. Sometimes we are doing better than they are. So I don't foresee them as better than the public school system for that sole reason. The parents that are involved so much with it, and yet they still don't try as good as well as we do. And I am for the Perth Amboy public school system. I've been and always will.
Thank you. This next question actually goes back to the first question about the superintendent, but looking forward. What characteristics do you think that a superintendent should possess moving forward? So, yes, Mr. Kirkland.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a great question. First of all, we need to find a person that is going to try and build bridges and collaborate with, not only with the staff, students, teachers, community. We need someone that's going to be able to work well with everyone in order to try and build relationships in order to promote the programs that we need here in the district and promote some of the things that we need. And that's part of any organization. Anyone who's going to be in charge of such a large school district, you need to build relationships so that you have the buy-in not only from the staff but from the community, parents, so that everyone understands the direction that we're going, they understand the mission, and that they focus on trying to collaborate and work with everyone. Because that's the only way we're going to get anything done. We can talk about programs all the time. We can talk about whatever programs you want, but if you don't have the buy-in from the folks that are out there, the stakeholders that are out there, you're not going to get anything done. And that goes with any program. That goes with anything with addressing at-risk students, goes with anything with reading, math, special needs. You have to have a buy-in from the public, from the community, from the teachers in order to move the district forward. And I think that the most important thing are trying to build teams out there that will bring people together in order to help the school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Thank you.
The question is, what do you think the qualities in a superintendent would be? What would you be looking for in a superintendent?
Well, I think that searching for the superintendent is one of the most challenging jobs for any board member, and I think that the board members have to be very, very cautious when they decide on a superintendent. Superintendent should be very, very experienced, should be very knowledgeable, and for this community, I think that we need someone that is culturally and linguistically diverse, preferably someone who is bilingual, and someone who understands our community and can work with our community and understand the needs, and can shape the attention of what we're doing here to students' achievement and can make progress in this community. So I think that we have to be very cautious searching for the superintendent, and we need to select someone that can change the environment here in our school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. LeBron?
Yes, we do need someone who can appease the waters, if you will, that we have seen turn turbulent over the last year and a half to 2 years. We certainly need someone who is a collaborator. There's no question about that. We need someone who can bring in all the stakeholders and together come up with the solutions, the programs that will best fit for our community. We also need someone who will be able to evaluate properly the staff as well as support, as well as certificate staff, and make decisions based on that, not just input from others. We need someone who will be fair. We need someone who will definitely look at this community and look at the demographics and decide and realize what it will take to succeed, not only for the superintendent, but for the community first. Because let's face it, if you ever been in an environment such as this and you're learning on the job, as we have learned, it is very, very difficult to succeed on all accounts.
Thank you. Mr. Massapus?
Yes, that decision's not mine. I think it should be by the people who are responsible for it, the bargaining unit, the community leaders, the parents, and they should be able to get together with board members and come down with an idea of what we are looking for. Not what I'm looking for, but what they, as a whole, are looking for in a big search committee of at least 10 to 15 people. So you get all these different ideas put together and then come up with the correct candidate. And there's places out there that can search for you and then let those people that I suggested make that decision, not me. Not me. Somebody else made the decision last time and it wasn't right. So maybe we should have a whole community decision of the teachers, parents, and the community leaders, not me. Okay?
Mr. Ortega?
Well, I believe that we need somebody to be able to work with the community, with the parents, with the teachers, with the principals, and with everybody else, you know. And also, I believe this board, the Board of Education is in charge, is the superintendent boss. So she's supposed to respond, she or he, to respond to the board. Whatever she do or he do wrong or right, the board is supposed to be supervising and watching that person, making sure that person do the right work in the community, and making sure the students do whatever they're supposed to do, their achievements. I think that's the main thing. Looking for somebody responsible, professional, and
Thank you. Your time's up. Mr. Salerno?
It's an interesting question. I think some of the other candidates sitting at this table might have different insight because I think they were part of the decision-making process to hire our former superintendent. But some of the things I think we look forward to is we want to move on. You learn from your prior experiences, and like anything else, you stick your hand in the fire one time, you get burned, you're not going to do it again. Again, like I said before, back to my opening statement, we want to move on, we want to go forward. And I think qualities we look for is something we look for is in a CEO of a company. You want somebody that can be somewhat of a disciplinarian, yet somebody who's approachable, somebody with an open door policy. And we live in a very unique community. We need somebody that will understand this community and be able to address the concerns of the community, the children, the educators, the parents. And we could use a slew of different adjectives to describe somebody, but I think collectively that's the type of person that we're looking for.
Thank you. Mr. Varela?
Yes. I tend to believe some of the stuff Mr. Samola brought stated, and Mr. Massapus, and I agree with some of their items, but we need someone that will, not how it was chosen before, it's someone that's connected with the state. We got to make sure that does not happen again. Someone that has their private agenda. That's why I always believe that the community is a big part of it. That's why I always have the open door policy that I always, staff members out there know that I always ask them questions. I bombard them with questions because they are the knowledgeable one. But one of the things is we have to be very careful. It doesn't come up against someone that's state connected and has their own personal agenda. And it was a disaster.
Mr. Bermudez?
Thank you. Along with the proper credentials, we need somebody who possesses the willingness to understand the community and to collaborate with the teachers, the Board of Education. You need to get together with the community. You need to understand the community in order to implement the proper programs and initiatives, in order to get the kids what they need, to get the proper education. So, we also need somebody who doesn't have an agenda other than educating the kids of the district.
Thank you. This question is specific to Mr. Ortega and to Mr. Iglesias. This questioner says, I come regularly to board meetings. Why haven't I seen you in attendance? Mr. Iglesias?
Well, I'll be here very often. I'll be here a lot of times. Maybe, later and look around, but I'll be here very often.
Yes. Mr. Ortega?
Well, the reason I haven't come to the meetings lately because I've been campaigning, working, and talking to parents, is getting back what they need and their complaints. Why, I think I mean, it wastes my time, and I need to see a lot of people.
This question, as a former teacher, it's never a question you ask because it has a yes or no. I'll try to reframe it. The questioner wants to know if you think that schools are too top-heavy administrative-wise and paying too much for administration instead of for teachers, education, and children. And so, obviously, we don't want just a yes or no. Could you comment upon that question? And we will start with, where did we go off? Mr. Carpenter?
Yeah,
You started last time.
Yeah,
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes, we have. Well, I think that in anything, we have to have a balance. And I think we need to recognize the level, the league, or all the individuals in our school districts. So I think that we need to balance more how we are compensating people who work in this community, and people that makes a great effort to make sure that our students get what they need. So I think that we need to use a more balanced approach, and I think we need to make things a little bit more equally, I believe.
Thank you. Please.
Yes, during my transition from board vice president to president, Mr. Christie, or Dr. Christie, appropriated our surplus. We did have a surplus back then that we would use from one year to the next, make it part of the budget. And when that happened, we were basically forced to lay off. Yes, we did lay off 85 personnel. And what taught us to do was to do with less. The following year, of course, when the Supreme Court forced him to refund the formula, we noticed that we had another additional surplus. But the interesting thing is that when we did do away with 85 of our staff, a lot of it was from the top. A lot of it was administrative. We had less coaches and so on. And unfortunately now, we are very top-heavy with a lot of educational leaders and so on. And that is where a lot of the money has gone lately, by the way.
Thank you. Mr. Asipos?
Yeah, in my years of teaching, I found that most important positions to make things work were middle management people, which we've done away with. The guy that will get the pencil to the teacher when he doesn't have it. The guy that orders the books for the whole department. I was a department chairman. And I never left the school in the summer until all my book orders were in and all my books were counted and stacked and all that stuff. But that's the middle management guy that does that. Make sure the projectors are working, the technology stuff is ready. And I think that is a guy we need. The middle management guy, not necessarily the top guy.
Mr. Ortega?
Well, I believe that we should get the personnel is need to get the job done, regardless what is the situation. Because if that got to do with the children's education, we need to have that done, and it's not excusable right now.
Mr. Salerno?
I'd like to echo some of the sentiments that Mr. Bermudez had alluded to. There's got to be a fair and equitable balance. I realize that no matter whether it's city government, state government, private entities, everybody has to do more with less. However, doing more with less in this venue results in our children getting less, and that's something that that's something that can happen. We cannot allow to happen. So, I guess my best response is we need to evaluate exactly where we're lacking and make sure that our children aren't the end result of the suffering.
Mr. Burrell?
I think I know what they're asking. in reference, because we used to have math specialists, coaches, and their job was to take care of all the workshops. It was working. It was something that really worked. And I've seen a lot of staff members which have come up and have argued, why are they building these new positions, which if you see in board meetings, if you do come to the board meetings, you'll see that I have been voted against it because I saw that transition. It was a negative transition where they took individuals that were making less money, and they put people that are now making more money than these coaches and do less work. So I'm pretty sure I know staff members that are asking that question. I'm a total agreement. That's why I've always voted no for them. And I still continue to vote no for them.
Thank you. Mr. Bermudez.
Thank you. If elected to the Board of Education, this is something that has to be evaluated. This is not an answer. This is something I can give you an answer right now. I would have to go on the inside and be able to speak with fellow board members and look at the numbers and look and see what we have, evaluate and take it from there. If there's any adjustments that they need to change, but again, it comes down to what it's going to benefit the children. That's the bottom line.
Mr. Cardinal.
Thank you. Currently, I guess the question, can you rephrase the question, is that we're to have too much top heavy, is that what it is?
Exactly.
Okay. If you, comparatively to other districts, I will tell you that we're on the low end. We don't have the top heaviness as that might be a misconception. Comparatively to other districts, we're not top heavy, we're actually on the low end. But I also agree with Mr. Mascos, who says that the middle management needs to be supported, needs to focus on that area aggressively. Also, the issue is that we have to also evaluate. I mean, currently we have to evaluate where we are. I will tell you that since we get state funds, that it's hard for us to make those types of decisions because we have to actually, if they tell us we need 2 math specialists, we have to have them. So we are restricted as to how many what type of leadership we should have in the district. But however, I do again agree with the middle management approach.
Thank you. And this is going to be the last question so that we have time for the candidates to give their closing remarks. And this may actually lead into your kind of a good follow-up or lead into your closing remarks. If elected, what would be your primary focus for reforming the district? And we're going to start with Mr. LeBreau.
My primary goal to reform the district would be to sit down with the administrators. Number one, of course, sit down with the superintendent to hopefully share a vision of where we want to go. And building by building, supervisor by supervisor, director by director, etc. Determine what exactly is that's going to make our district work better. Starting with, okay, let's identify the problems. Why are we not succeeding at this particular level, at this class? Why are we not doing this here or there? Why are we scoring so low on this particular one? And identify little by little all the problems that we see, but we have to get all stakeholders to collaborate, building by building, because we're not doing that right now. I think we have pretty much a global approach to this type of problem. But if we let our staff speak, meet, and actually have an opinion that's, let's say, unfettered, I believe that we're going to be able to determine exactly what it will take for us to get better. That will be our number one priority when elected.
Thank you. Mr. Mascahus?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that a lot of the board members like myself, we really didn't know what was going on. Because stuff was being changed and people would stop me in the street and say, hey, did you know? And I'd say, no, I didn't know. And a lot of times stuff got done without us knowing. And I would hope we have a more honest approach. And also one of the things I try very, very hard to do is listen. Now, sometimes what you hear is right, sometimes what you hear is wrong. And God gave me the strength to decide which is right and which is wrong. And I think we got a lot of brains here, and I think we put them together, we might solve some problems.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega, your primary focus for reforming the district.
Okay, if I get elected this time, I will concentrate, first of all, in getting along with all the members and work together and see what we can do to fix the problem we have in the school system. I'm very sure we really can do it, but we need to work together. Also to start with the administrative, like I was saying before, and also bring the parents in and talk to them and see how they can guide us.
Thank you. Mr. Varela? Mr. Salerno?
That's the second time.
I know.
The primary focus, actually, there's a couple primary issues. And honestly, with the election day just slightly over a week away, I think the primary focus is to assist in the decision-making process to select a new superintendent. In addition to that, we have the issues of overcrowding. We're receiving a new high school. In addition to that, we have some test scores that are lagging. So I know the question was for primary, but I believe there's several categories, if you will, that will go equilaterally along with the primary. And I think they should be taken care of in the very near future.
Yes, Mr. Varela.
Thank you. Well, there's a lot we can do now because now there's a new union boss, which they're here, and I see how they've been moving. They've been moving in a positive way with the staff, and I have seen because I've been listening to our students that are honor students, our bilingual students. So my take on this is I'm going to be very aggressively, more aggressively than before, working with the students, working with the staff, and working with our parents. That is the only way you can continue moving. And we were on the right track, but unfortunately some people closed the doors on us because it was working. But now I will continue in the same manner that I was before, always working and always answering everyone and always listening and fighting for the individuals. They could just say, do everything to me, but I will continue always helping. I will never stop.
Mr. Bermudez.
Thank you. If elected, I want to make sure that we all come to the table and we can all agree on the same thing. And that is to discuss things without bickering. We have to be able to come together and work things out for the sake of the children. We have to be able to talk and collaborate with all the teachers, the faculty, the community, the parents, the students, and be able to come together and get things done and push forward. We can't sit here and do what has been done in the past and just bicker over nonsense. We have to work together. That's the bottom line. We work together, we're going to move forward in a positive manner.
Thank you. Mr. Carvalho?
All right, thank you. The first thing I would do if I were re-elected would be, number one, to have the pursuit of excellence policy instituted, starting with the superintendent, hiring practices, that we have stated criteria for each key position within the district so that we can get the right people in place to move this district forward. The other issue I would like to support is our at-risk students. Aggressively look at programs to go out there and help and support our at-risk students, especially at the middle school level. And lastly, look for funding for a new high school. I think that we can do that with the surplus. I think we can use that. We can talk to the state about providing funds, state funds to us in order to get this accomplished. So that would be my three top priorities if elected. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mason?
Yes, if I am given the privilege of serving in this board, my primary focus will be students' achievement. I think that we need to have a plan. I don't know if right now we have a plan, but we do need to have a plan. And I already have thought about this, and I think that we need to have a reflective plan. We need to, I was thinking of creating some sort of convention where everyone can be part of this, the community, the board members, the superintendent, the principals, the coaches, the PTA, everyone should be part of this. And I think that when we have this meeting, we need to stop and think, where are we as a school district in terms of students' achievement? Setting goals, where we want to be in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years from now. And throughout the year, be reflective of how much progress we have done and ask ourselves, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What do we need to change? What can the board members do to support this process and getting the students' achievements up.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for your very astute questions, those of you who are watching at home. And it is now time for these candidates to give you their last comments, their last plea for your vote. And we will go in reverse order, and so we will start with Mr. Varela.
Thank you. Well, you know me for 3 years. You know that no special interest group could sway my vote, no matter how much they try. I will continue in the same path that I have been doing. I will continue supporting our students. They come always first to me. Then second has always been the community, and third, our staff. But I will ask the staff, you know I'm going to be on you, because all the intelligent information actually does come from you. The intelligent information is from you because we've been lied to over and over again. So in order for this to work, I have been always respectful with any individual. Yes, I am strong, but I gotta blame the Marine Corps for that. They taught us how to act, and never to give up. So with that in mind, I will ask you to support our team, Samuel LeBron, Anthony Bermudez, and myself. And what I have given you for all these years, I promise I will continue. I will not let anyone sway my vote. Not just because there's an election coming up and I changed my mind. My mind was always the same path. And I have never swayed from that path that was there. And I have never, ever gone to any special interest group because they were going to support me. That's something that you know that I will never have done and I will never do. So with that in mind, please come out and support Anthony Bermudez, Samuel LeBron, and Yeshua Varela for the next term. And thank you, and everybody have a nice night.
Thank you. And Mr. Salerno, didn't forget you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I just want to thank again the AFT and the Women's League for hosting us. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know it takes time away from your families, but this is a very important election, and it really means a lot to you. It means a lot to me as well, because at the end of the day, people watching, people in attendance here, we take our most prized possessions, not our belongings, not our vehicle, not our home, but we take our children and we put them in your hands. And we expect them to walk away with an amazing education. And again, when I asked some of the questions before, that's the decision we made, was to put them in the public school system, because that's what they're getting. You guys are truly heroes of what you do, and I don't think that you deserve it. You get the notoriety you deserve at times. So again, thank you. To my candidate, to the candidates, I wish you all the best in your endeavors. And I've been here my whole life. I've got over 25 years in the city of community service, served on many various boards and everything else, and a lot of long-standing history in the community, and my wife and I, we enjoy doing that. At the end of the day, if it doesn't work out next week, it's in the man upstairs, it's in his hands, but if it doesn't work out, that won't change the person that I am. It will not stop me from the community service that I've done for many years and will continue to do. My children are still here in the school system. I want a home here, but we're not going anyplace. So it's not going to, that's not going to change the matter at all. And again, thank you for everything. I look forward for your support next week, and God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega?
First of all, I want to thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. And before all these people here present tonight, I will continue, the fight for my grandchildren's education and for all the children of Perth Amboy. Regardless if I get elected or not, I will continue serving my community and work hard to seek to change things around. We need a lot of things in Perth Amboy, especially our children's education. That's the more important thing for me. I'm very positive, and I will continue working every day, and our children benefit. Thank you for having us, and have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Massapus?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the AFT and the League of Women Voters for allowing me this. A year ago tomorrow, we got hit with Sandy. And about a week or so after Sandy, I participated in a cleanup, and I watched our kids work. And if they work like they worked that day, we're gonna be all right. I know we gotta get a new superintendent, that's number one. Number two, the high school. I can see by the brains we have here, I think we can do it. And the other, I'm a little worried about technology. A lot of people think technology is cool. It's a tool. It's the teachers that teach and how to use it correctly. And if I get elected, I would try to do all those things. And I would like to try to see how technology could be used to improve our education, because it's here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. LeBron?
I congratulate the American Federation of Teachers and the League of Women Voters for this well-organized debate. I tip my hat to my community for coming out tonight, not only to listen to us, but support Israel Varela, Anthony Bermudez, and I. Tonight, you've heard the candidates express their opinions, desires, and offer solutions on issues affecting our school district. You also heard where each one of us has always stood and presently stands. Now it will be up to you to make your choice as to whom you wish to be your voice at the Board of Education. You have to decide who best represents your interests at the board, and make no mistake about it. What the board does affects the city a great deal. Toward that end, I am and my running mates are offering to work with all stakeholders, students, parents, residents, and staff. Together we will endeavor to identify the problems that have plagued our district by performing necessary evaluations of our programs, collaborating in finding viable solutions, consulting those affected by our solutions, and implementing those solutions. We also promise to maintain the level of integrity that you have come to expect from me and my running mates. Ultimately, it is the residents and voters of this city that will hold us accountable for what we have said and what we will do. You owe it to yourself and those that cannot come out to voice their opinions to join us so that we can all be together for quality schools and facilitate the many hard choices that lay ahead of us. We will be your voice, but you must be our conscience. Thusly, I put in your hands our fate as future board members, and ask in return that you put your faith in us three to help lead this district out of these troubled waters. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you. Mr. Iglesias?
Yes, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the AFT, for organizing this event, and all the people here that are present. I'd like to start by saying that here tonight are the possible board members. And I got to tell you that everyone sitting here tonight needs to take a look at all the members sitting here, because 3 of the 8 individuals sitting here will be elected. And this individual will decide the future of our school district. And I got to tell you that if I am elected, if you elect me and my running mate, Mr. Ortega, we are going to work hard for this community. We also can find someone that you can trust and someone that can work for you and our students. Our primary focus would be to work with students' achievement, to make sure that we have a plan, to make sure that we work and use that plan to move this district forward. So I thank you all for being here tonight, and best of luck to all the board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carvalho?
Thank you very much. I too would like to thank the AFT and the League of Voters for being here tonight. I also like to thank the candidates for a healthy exchange of ideas. I think this is a great forum. I think this is good for us, and I hope it happens more often. For the past 3 years, I've worked very hard to make decisions, the best decisions that I can, in the best interest of our school district. I was born and raised in this town. I was graduated from this high school. My family owns a business here. I'm a taxpayer here. I care about what happens here. And I want to continue to work to find new programs, to find new ways for us to focus, to bring new programs here to focus on our students. to find ways to save money in order for us to get more money into the classroom. And I think that hopefully working together, putting together a good team of folks, putting together a superintendent search, I think working together we can achieve that goal. And again, I will continue the work that we already started to bring the school district back on track. Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Bermudez, you have the last word.
Thank you. In closing, the job of Board of Education member is not an easy one. I will have to volunteer many hours of my time to address the many issues involving our school and our children. I will commit by working with fellow board members, teachers, and administrators to achieve our collective goals. My priorities: increase parental involvement. We can do this by implementing bilingual services, encouraging them to join the PTO, and by becoming more available to them. Building a new high school. The overcrowding is getting out of control and safety is now an issue. I think it's time to sit down with the City Council and team up together to approach the state to get this done. Proper programs and initiatives. We have to make sure we implement the proper programs and initiatives that are going to educate our children to their fullest potential. We do this collaboratively with the teachers and the administrators who know best. You have now heard from all of us, and now it is up to you to determine which three are best suited for these three demanding positions. Together for Quality Schools, Samuel Abrupt, Israel Varela, and myself, Anthony Bermudez, pledge to serve the children of Perth Amboy to the best of our ability. Again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the AFT for having us here tonight. Thank you, and have a beautiful night.
Thank you very much to all of you who are here. You all have, on November 5th, you have actually 9 candidates that will be on the ballot with 3 positions. So you have tough decisions to make. And I wish you good luck, and thank you again for asking the League to moderate this forum. Good night. Thank you very much.